Hello, church. I hope you've been enjoying these Psalm devotionals because personally, to me, they've been such a huge blessing this season. And today we're going to look into Psalm 44. And this psalm is a psalm where this psalmist is lamenting a lot in this psalm, and because of the current situation that he is in. If you look at the psalm is divided into three parts, which is the past, where he talks about the greatness of God from verse 1 to 8, and then he's talking about his present current situation from verse 9 to 22, and then you see him talking about the future where he's pleading and putting his trust in God from verse 23 to 26. And for me, there were few verses that stood out for me in the past, in the current, and in the future. And if you see in the past, where he's talking about the greatness of God, you see how much the psalmist knows about the greatness of God. Because when he starts off, he says, "We have heard it with our ears, O God. Our ancestors have told us what you did in their days, in days long ago." And verse 3 says, "It was not by their sword that they won the land, nor did their arm bring them victory. It was your right hand, your arm, and the light of your face, for you loved them." And this is where he's talking about the greatness of God, and he knows how great our God is. But then if you see when he's talking about his present, the current situation that he is in, if you see in verse 15, it says, "I lived in disgrace all day long, and my face is covered with shame." You can see that he's so confused, and there's so much of shame attached to whatever he's going through right now. And sometimes that's how we feel in the current situation, isn't it? With whatever is happening around the world, in spite of us knowing how great our God is and how good our God is, whatever the situation is around us, sometimes we let that overtake what the truth of God is. And no matter what you're going through this morning, it could be a loss of a loved one, it could be you losing your job, or you don't know what your next job is going to look like, or you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, or you're just so confused with everything that's happening around, and there's so much of anxiety and fear, or you're going through loneliness in this pandemic. I just want to encourage you and say that God sees you, that God cares about you, and that God loves you, and that no matter what your situation is, that you are a conqueror, because our Jesus is a conqueror. Like, he conquered death, and it's the same spirit that lives in you. So I just want to say, just like this psalmist, we might have those feelings of confusion, of shame, of guilt, of disgrace, or of fear, or of anxiety, all of these negative emotions. But do not let that rob you from the peace of God that God's given you and is placed in you. Because if you see where he's talking about the future, where he's pleading and putting his trust in God, in verse 26 it says, "Rise up and help us. Rescue us because of your unfailing love." And our God is someone who loves us so much. And he even portrayed that love in the most purest form by dying on the cross for us. So this morning, I just have a simple question for you. Will you trust him more than you trust yourself and your situation which you are in right now? That no matter what you are feeling, that God is with you, he cares for you, he loves you, and he is beside you. I just want you to be encouraged, and for you to know that our God is who he says he is. He is a conqueror. He has fought for you. He has great plans for you, and he has a great purpose for your life. That no matter what you are going through, just put your trust in Jesus, because he is someone who knows and who always does the impossible. Because personally for me, when I was battling depression, when I was going through a dark phase in life, it was Jesus who saved me and gave me so much joy and changed my life from darkness to life. And I really believe that our God is a God who does that for everyone, because he loves you so much, and he has a great plan and purpose for you. And there's a beautiful verse in the Bible where it says, "For I had you in mind even before creation." And that's how precious you are to God. So no matter what situation you are in, will you put your trust in Jesus? more than anything that's happening around you. Like this psalmist where he says, rise up and help us, rescue us because of your unfailing love. And his unfailing love for you is more than anything what you are going through today. And trust me that Jesus is who he says he is, and he will get you out of that situation, and he will bring you hope, and he will give you hope, and he will draw you out of whatever you are in, because that is the God who we serve. I hope you enjoyed this psalm today, church. And I hope you are an encouragement to somebody around you, where you could encourage them and tell them to put their trust in Jesus. Because at the back of me giving my life to Jesus, my life has changed and transformed so much. And I'm sure all of us have such powerful testimonies. So why don't you share your testimony of how God saved you and how you put your trust in Jesus? And it could be something small, it could be something big. But share your testimony, because your testimony is so powerful, and it could encourage someone out there. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for Psalm 45. Love you, church.